My name is Ian Hill, and on behalf of all of us involved with the Becoming a Community Builder initiative, I want to welcome you, the committee, and your community to the program. And I want to congratulate you on being awarded. You see, we've had overwhelming interest in the program, and we certainly have had greater interest than awards to give, which means that it was a competitive process, which means that you were selected out of many that applied. You were chosen. Why? Because we believe that you could be a lighthouse to other rural communities across the country. Well, a lighthouse for what? A lighthouse to prove something. To prove that one, rural communities are relevant in the 21st century. Two, that the people closest to the problem are best situated to solve their problems. And three, when communities make an all-out commitment to the development of leaders, great things happen. Over the next few minutes, we're going to orientate you to the initiative. We're going to give you some background. We're going to give you some insight into the roles and responsibilities, what you can expect from us and what we expect from you. And then we'll talk about the tangible next steps. In the second half of this orientation video, you're going to be able to see what your community participants will view when they are orientated to the program.
Why should you take this? It gives you an opportunity to learn some things personally, to connect with some amazing people in your community that you never even might have known existed, and just to expand your horizon on what the opportunities are that you can do to build a better community, because the power is in with each one of us. And so I think exploring that opportunity to say, what can I do? Don't think you can't do anything. This is an opportunity to empower yourself and empower your community. Thanks.
All right, let's move on with the orientation. Well, now let's talk about some background. Before you can understand why a program has been developed and what it hopes to achieve, you have to get a little bit of background about the people involved. My background is that I was adopted. I was adopted in a Middle Eastern country, Iran to be specific. And I was brought to North America as an infant child, actually smuggled out of Iran, purchased on the black market for 2 cases of scotch. Damn good scotch, I'll have you know. 2 cases of scotch by a United States Air Force sergeant named Master Sergeant John W. Hill. Him and his wife, Wilma Jean Hill, brought me to the United States. I'm lucky to be brought to North America. And I grew up in the States. But it's been my Canadian experience that's changed me as a man. I'm a better man because of Canada. I'm a better husband. I'm a better father. I'm a better man. I didn't set out to do initiatives all across Canada. That's not what I set out to do at all. I didn't know I was going to do any of these things. I was just a business person. I used to run a large hospitality organization with about 1,100 employees, a casino to be specific, down in the States. And I learned about leadership. Then I got involved in my local community because all of a sudden I went from nothing to something. I went from the outhouse to the penthouse. I barely graduated from high school. Couldn't read till I was 16, 17, 18 years old. Everyone thought I was going to be a failure. 495 students in my graduating grade 12. I was 492nd. But as a business person who had more than I could have ever hoped to have, I realized that I needed to give back. I needed to be involved in my community. So I started getting involved in community projects in my own local community. And that involvement led to being on boards, and then that led to not necessarily being satisfied with those boards that I served on. So we started our own projects, and we opened schools and youth centers. And then that spread to being involved in other parts of North America, and then eventually around the world. And our Let Them Be Kids program has now done 160 projects across Canada. And in that, I started to learn that people closest to the problem really could solve the problems. That when they came up with solutions, they lasted longer. And that they were more efficient and effective and cost less. And they sustained. And they got deeper buy-in and had greater impact. It dawned on me, these are the people that need to solve the problem, the people on the grassroots level, not somebody far, far away in some building that's never even been to my town. And I took that learning and I put it right back here in the back of my brain. And then I started to realize something else. I started to realize that all those first of their kind programs that we started and initiated and won all kinds of awards for, I started to realize that if I had had a half a brain in my head, if I actually had known what I was doing, if I actually had some leadership skill while I was trying to do it, we probably could have done it a lot faster, a lot cheaper, and with a lot less stress. And then it dawned on me. The key is community leadership capacity. What? Yeah, community leadership capacity. That's when it dawned on me. If Ian had known what he was doing, think of how much more he could have done. Think of how much greater of an impact could have happened. Wow! And then it came the realization, the truism, that if you want to have a thriving community, then you must have high community leadership capacity. Now, what does that mean? That means leadership excellence in every silo, in every sector, in every corner of the community. And it's not about formal leaders. It's about informal leaders. It's about making sure that the lady that's running the Girl Guides, the guy that's doing minor hockey, the people in the place of faith, the social service, whatever it is, the public service, the businesses, that if we had great leadership capacity in every sector, every silo, and every corner of the community, if leadership excellence permeated all of that, then you would inherently end up having a thriving community. And then I started researching and looking. I started to see if that was true. As I went from community to community to community to community, do you know that I've been in some over 280 Canadian communities in the last 5 years? And most of them rural communities. And you know what? My theory proved out that it was about community leadership capacity. That if there was leadership excellence in all sectors and all silos of a community, they would collaborate. If there was excellence of leadership in all sectors and silos, they would be creative, they would innovate, they would overcome adversity, they would adapt, they would overcome, they would know how to change. And most importantly, they would know how to align community resources, time, talent, and treasure towards a common goal. They would set aside their petty differences and they would focus on building the community that all would want to live in. And I said, dang it, this is an answer. And that's when I started to realize that something had to be done. Now that you understand a little bit more about where this thing came from and where it came from in the heart of the people involved, now let's talk about the point of the program. The Becoming a Community Builder initiative is really about proving an emerging practice. That's what this is about. Proving emerging practice. You see, we believe that rural communities are relevant in the 21st century. We think that there is a place for rural communities. We think that it's ridiculous to assume that 33 million people across the country are going to live in 10 or 11 cities. That's not going to work. And for the nation to reach its full potential, rural communities have to be a relevant, viable, economically sustainable, high quality of life, thriving part of a nation. But I don't have to tell you, there's some difficulties and challenges in a rural community today. So there's billions, literally billions of dollars being spent on how to keep rural communities relevant and thriving in the 21st century. Well, for the reasons that I described a moment ago, and some reasons I'll describe in just a second, we believe we have an answer. That we have an answer to this challenge of keeping rural communities relevant and thriving in the 21st century. And this program is an attempt to prove that our ideas and our concepts are viable, effective, and can be of impact.
I wanted to say a few words just because sometimes you feel like you're walking the walk alone. And I think when I started this program and I watched the numbers climb, and it was 5 of the same people that I knew and that had walked the walk with me many times before that started off, and then it was 10, and then it was 20, and it grew and grew and grew, and now I know I'm walking the walk with 187 and growing, and it's made a big difference to how I see this community and what I know the opportunities are for this community in the future.
The program is based on some very simple principles. 1, let the people closest to the problem solve the problem. 2, as I mentioned earlier, that it's all about leadership capacity, community leadership capacity. And that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with formal leaders. It's about leadership excellence in all corners, all sectors, and all silos of a community. That when that leadership excellence is high, the leadership capacity is high, great things happen. When leadership capacity is low of all sectors, all silos, all corners of informal and formal leaders, well, you can figure out the rest. But we had to prove that. So we first set out to prove that through our Let Them Be Kids initiative. That's the one that's received all the awards. That's where we give away the playgrounds and the skate parks and the fitness parks. We support the building of those. And we've done 160 projects all across Canada, from Port Alberni, BC to Belle Isle, Newfoundland. From Yellowknife in the Northwest Territory all the way down to Crystal Beach, Ontario, and all points in between. And we use that initiative as a petri dish to first say, what would happen if we educated and supported grassroots community members and then set them out to go do a project? What could occur? And what would be the residual impact of that? And you know what we came to find? It was amazing. We did a project, and then we did another project, and then we did another one. And the next thing you knew, it was working. It was working in real and tangible ways. They weren't just building playgrounds, skate parks, and fitness parks. They were doing co-ops, and they were organizing other initiatives, and even years down the road, because they had been equipped to lead in real and practical and tangible ways. So they went out and led, and we knew it worked. So then we said to ourselves, let's take that learning and let's create a curriculum. So you take all of these projects and you take the learning and you say, what were the key attributes of those leadership approaches? What were the ways that they did it? Let's pull the learnings and create a curriculum and establish some formal ways of doing leadership in the 21st century, what the times require. Then, as life would have it, we had the opportunity to start teaching that in pockets, in different sectors, in different silos. First in the public sector, all across the world, all the way to Australia, all across North America, all the way to Australia. And then in the community sector, and in the business sector, we taught it in silos. And we started to quantify the impact, and the impact was big. Well, as life would have it, I found myself in Fort McMurray, Alberta, in January of 2012. I was invited to participate in a conference. It was called Leading the North. Myself, Peter Mansbridge, Amanda Lang, the founder of Greenpeace, all kinds of big people. What the chubby brown kid was doing there, I have no idea. But there I was. I was asked to be the opening keynote speaker. Wow. So I give my talk. And I talked straight from my heart. And it resonated. The message resonated. I said that area had an opportunity to do something great. That Alberta as a whole had an opportunity to do something great. But that history would judge what Albertans did with that opportunity. And they invited me back, which I can't believe. And they kept inviting me back. And they asked me, they said, what do you think the community needs? And I said, well, I got an idea. We've done some testing. We've done some playing. We've done some petri dishing. And now, if you'll give me the opportunity, let's beta test something. What's that? What if we took hundreds of people from all sectors and all silos and all corners of the community? What if we put them through an intensive, formal leadership development program and then cascaded them out across the community? You see, my thought was this. The normal maturation of a community leader, you know, a guy gets a job and he then becomes a supervisor or a gal, and then they serve on a committee, and then they get involved in a volunteer activity, and then they serve on a board, and 7 to 10 years later, they're an effective community leader. And you and I both know that's who makes communities go. 7 to 10 years. Well, guess what? The regional municipality of Wood Buffalo, Fort McMurray, from Fort Chip all the way down to Anzac and Janvier, they don't have 7 to 10 years to wait for that normal leadership maturation, community leadership maturation process to occur. And guess what? You don't have 7 to 10 years. You don't have that opportunity. So they said, okay, let's go for it. And 1,000 people later, close to 1,000 people later, the program was complete. And what happened? People changed. People changed. Leadership capacity increased. People got things done. People made things happen in the large communities, in the small communities, all across the regional municipality. And we knew it worked.
What was next was to take the concepts and take the model and deploy it across numerous regions and geopolitical areas to validate that the impact would be the same. But the initial results are similar to Fort McMurray and the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo. Outcomes were established, goals were set, and commitments were made, and they're being fulfilled. Outcomes are being achieved, individual personal commitments are being attained, and organizational goals and community change is happening.
Proving that if you make an all-out commitment to the development of leaders of a community, great things will happen. When you equip them with the leadership competencies the times require, amazing things occur. And that all of the community's problems can be solved when the leadership capacity increases. I don't believe it. Really stop and think about it. Whether it's an organization, whether it's a society, whether it's a community, you and I both know it always boils down to leadership. And I'm not talking about formal leaders. And you know what? There's historical precedents for this as well. Really? Yeah, think about it. Think about all the great societies. You know what? They put an emphasis on leadership development. It's just been now in the 20th and 21st century that we don't emphasize the development of leaders. We leave it to chance. We hope Superman will come. But if you look at the ancient societies, you took a young person and you nurtured them and you grew them. And whether you called it mentorship or discipleship or apprenticeship, whatever you called it, you grew leaders. And we wonder today, as we leave it to chance, why we're not satisfied with the leaders that we get. So what are we trying to accomplish? What's the point? We're trying to prove and establish an emerging practice that people closest to the problem can solve their problems. And that when you make an all-out commitment to the development of community leadership capacity, something amazing occurs. And what's best about that? It's cheaper, it'll have greater impact, it'll last longer. Let's talk about your award and what you can expect from us. First of all, you can expect us to provide you a comprehensive, holistic, complete, turnkey community leadership development program. You will be allowed to have an unlimited number of participants. Unlimited number of participants. We're going to handle the registration. We're going to handle the content development. We're going to handle the website and the learning portal, which you'll learn more about. We're going to handle the registration process. We're going to handle the troubleshooting. We're going to handle all of that. So you can expect us to do that. Now, how long can you expect us to do that? Once we've created the initial program in your community and your initial participants have gone through, our commitment to you as a Lighthouse community, one of the first communities to establish the emerging practice, our commitment to you is that you will have the contents of that learning portal, all the videos, all the training sessions, all the materials, all the MP3 files, everything you will have and we will maintain into perpetuity. Now stop and think about what that means. That means that your community now has a leadership development program available to every citizen, every kid, every senior, every business, every whatever, for free. For free. That the participants can participate for free. What a great community asset. Now what else can you expect from us? You can expect us to train you on how to deploy this program. We'll talk about that in a moment. You can expect us to provide you with the tools, the marketing materials, a marketing video, flyers, posters, the marketing tools that you will need to put the word out. And support that, as I said a moment ago, with the training that goes along with that. You can expect me to personally to come to your community first to help you launch the program. We'll explain what that means as we talk about next steps. To launch the program or ignite the program. So that's what you can expect from us. Now let's talk about what we expect from you. Okay, let's talk about what we expect from you. First of all, we expect you to form a committee. You've done that. That committee will be the organizing team that will help deploy the program in your community. We expect you as an organizing team to meet with us on a regular basis. But we're not going to have wasted meetings. Meet with us as needed to deploy the program effectively. Obviously, we're going to need to meet at the beginning quite a few times to get everything ready to roll out. We expect you to develop desired outcomes for your program. Now, we've developed desired outcomes as an overarching initiative, but we want you to have developed desired outcomes in your initiative at the local level as well. Now, we'll talk about that more when we talk about next steps and in the coaching session that will follow this video. In addition to that, we expect you to go out and recruit people to participate through a relational marketing strategy. We believe in a relational marketing strategy that we call 100 cups of coffee. We'll talk about that in a moment. We expect you to participate as well because we expect you to role model participation in the program. And then finally, we do expect you to help support the program financially. Now look, all of that you're going to see in this orientation video and all that comes with the program, you're going to take a step back and go, really? We get almost 60 hours of training and the community gets to utilize that forever? Yeah. In value, if you include the visits to your community, the learning portal, all of the training that goes on, and the fact that that will be established forever, and the customer support that goes with that, the maintenance that has to go with that, the value is anywhere, depending on where your community is because of varying travel costs, anywhere from $27,000 to $32,000. Now, originally we had thought about doing the program at no cost to the local community. But then we stopped and thought about it and said, well, if it's no cost, then nobody's going to take it serious. They got to put some skin in the game, any golfers out there. They got to put some skin in the game for them to take it seriously. But we don't want one organization to cut a check. We really don't want that. We want to see a number of organizations pitch in so no one has to do the heavy lifting. Now, I know some of you have an organization that's putting all the money in and then some others are going to reimburse. That's fine. But we want to see a broad base of support for the program. Not just for us, but for the community. So you are expected to put some skin in the game, just like we're putting a lot of skin in into this initiative. So those are the things that we expect from you. If you take what you can expect from us and what we expect from you, something great should happen. You see, the assumption is we're experts in a process. We're experts in competencies. We're experts in how and in a process to organize and create community change and increase the leadership capacity. You're experts in your local community. Those two things combined, something great should happen. All right, let's talk about the tangible next steps. What has to happen next? Well, before we can talk about what has to happen, we have to talk about a law of motion. A law of motion? Yeah, a tangible law of motion. It's called inertia. You see, as I started doing community projects all across North America and beyond, I started to realize that there was something at play. And that was this physical law of motion called inertia. If any of you remember your grade 12 science, you remember that inertia is that force that tends to keep a thing in place, tends to stay in place, right? An object on a certain trajectory tends to stay on that trajectory. Unless what? Unless a force greater than the one that's being applied is applied. So, I started to realize that communities have inertia. They manifest itself like this. I don't know, it's just what we do around here. Inertia. Now, I know inertia, community inertia, can be overcome. I know individual inertia can be overcome. But it's usually because of crisis, right? Something horrific happens and everybody rallies. Town hall burns to the ground, everybody rallies. There's a kid that's sick and family is in need, everybody rallies. So we started thinking to ourselves, are there ways to overcome inertia that could be used in a positive way? So before we can ever launch anything, we have to think about how are we going to overcome inertia. We also have to take into consideration that today's person, even in rural communities, are bombarded with media impressions. And whether that's TV, whether that's radio, whether that's the internet, whether that's print, or whether that's just the chatter around town. Even in the smallest communities, I'm amazed that people don't know what's going on. I'm amazed by that. So we had to take those two things into account when we talk about launching this initiative in your community. So let's walk through the tangible next steps that have to occur. First, all of you need to watch this video. Second, we need to have that coaching session where we talk this video out and ask the questions and dialogue to ensure that everyone's clear on responsibilities and roles and expectations, and everybody's clear about the tangible next steps. In that orientation video, or in that orientation coaching session, we'll cover some of this material and some more. Then what do we have to do? Then you've got to create those desired outcomes. Some desired outcomes. Why are we doing this? Now, in your interview, in your second interview, you gave us some desired outcomes that you had for your community and for yourself personally. Now we just need to put anywhere from 3 to 5 of those on paper so we know what we're pointing towards. Once you've done that, now it's time to launch it in your community. Now, how long should that be? I don't know. That's up to you. And how are we going to launch it? Well, we're going to provide you with some tools. We're going to provide you with a video that you could send out to friends, family, coworkers throughout the community. We're going to provide you with flyers or posters that you can spread throughout a community. But the number one way you're going to get the word out on this is a relational marketing strategy. We call it 100 cups of coffee. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to make a list of all the people of influence in your community, in every sector and every silo. All the people of influence. Now look, I don't mean the people of prominence. There's a difference between the people of prominence of your community and the people of influence. We all know a lot of people who are prominent, but everybody thinks is a joke. That's not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people of influence. Anytime I want to get something done in the community, I always say this. Point me in the direction of the 5 moms with the loudest mouths. Why? Because they're people of influence. Now, I wonder who those people are in your community. Are you one of those moms or dads with the loudest mouths? Maybe you are. But we want to make a list of all the people of influence. Because what we're going to do is go have a chat with them. A chat? Yeah, I call it a chat. You see, in this relational marketing strategy, we're going to go have a chat. We're going to go build a trusting relationship with at least one human being. So after you've made that list of all the people of influence, then you're going to ask your team who knows them. And who knows them the best. Who knows them the best? Yeah, so that we can use that relationship and the knowledge that we have about their style, their approach, and the way they do things, so that we can use that to make a meaningful connection with one human being. That's how this program is going to be marketed. A meaningful connection with one human being, where we personally invite people to participate. You see, because that's going to set the tone for the initiative. That's going to set the stage for community building. That's going to make people say, this is different. That's right. And when you go have that chat over that cup of coffee, what are you going to do? Sit there and sell the initiative? Well, we got to do it. We got to do it. No. You're going to listen. You're going to do 80% of the listening, 20% of the talking. You're going to listen to what their vision of the community is. You're going to ask open-ended questions. You're going to say, what do you think we need? Where would you like to see the community go? You're just going to listen. And then you're going to try to understand, because there's nothing more powerful in the world than another human being feeling understood. Then and only then are you going to tell them about this opportunity. And because you've watched this orientation video, because you've gone through the orientation coaching session, you're going to be able to articulate your desired outcomes and how this program can fill the needs that they've expressed and the needs that you desire through your desired outcomes to be filled. This is about building relationships. And what are we asking them to do? Register. We'll take it from there. You just get them to register, and then we'll keep them in the loop. That would be the next step. Planning, right? Planning. So we've ignited it in the community. We're getting people to register. They're getting information to us. So we start to build that relationship. And now, concurrent to all of that happening, we've got to build that day that I come to your community, that half day that I'm in your town, and what it looks like. Oh, we got to organize. Oh my gosh, we got so much to do. I would recommend to you, and we'll talk about it in your coaching session, that instead of putting on a bunch of big events, maybe the best thing to do is just go have little pocket meetings in the different silos of the community, getting people excited about it. Me coming and evangelizing why we're doing this, answering the questions about how we're doing this, and talk about the possibilities when we do it and the impacts that could occur. But we'll plan that in our coaching session that you'll participate either later today after you've watched this or in the next couple of days. And then we launch the program. So that's the sequence. You participate in this video, then we watch the coaching session, or then we participate in the coaching session. Once you've done the coaching session, you're developing your desired outcomes. And then together, we're teaching you how to utilize that relational marketing strategy, that 100 cups of coffee, where you're building the people, you're making the list of the people of influence, and you're connecting with them. Then we provide you with the tools that you need to also market the program. And all we're trying to do is get people to register. Once they've registered, we begin the relationship building with them. We do, the initiative. And then, concurrent to that, we're planning the half day that I come to you. And because we have desired outcomes already developed, we can use that as the lighthouse, the true north of how we should use that half day. All right, those were the next steps. Obviously, we'll talk about them more in our coaching session. Okay, let's recap. First, let's start with me personally. Why am I doing this? Because I have a moral obligation to give to a country that's given so much to me. I'm a better man because of Canada, as I said earlier. And I have a responsibility, a moral obligation, to do all that I can to make it the country it could be and help it reach its full potential.
As a lighthouse community for Alberta, and if this can be pushed all over, we could become probably the best nation in the world.
On a bigger and broader level, why are we doing the initiative? We're trying to prove something. We're trying to establish an emerging practice. And that emerging practice revolves around community leadership capacity. That where it is present, great things happen. Where it is low, communities have challenges. Where it is high, communities thrive and will sustain in the 21st century. And that when you allow people closest to the problem, have direct impact on their problems, great things happen. There are some tangible next steps and there are some expectations. We expect you to do certain things. Read that award letter. That is clear what we expect and what you can expect from us. And those tangible next steps I outlined a moment ago and we'll review in your coaching session. Look, this is not just another one of those programs. We are trying to prove something that I believe and that all of us involved believe in the depth of our heart can be an answer to rural communities across the country and beyond. I've been in some challenged rural communities. I know that all across Canada, there's people desperately looking for answers. And not only are they looking for answers, they're looking for hope. They're looking for somebody who's doing it right. You see, that's the funny thing about human beings. When we see other people doing it right, when we see other people overcoming adversity, when we see other people doing things that we think are implausible, improbable, or seemingly impossible, we gain hope. We gain hope. Now, oftentimes that hope goes away because we go back to our regular lives and we get the crap beat out of us and it goes away. But you can take that spark of hope and kindle it. You know how you do it? You kindle it with training and support, with education and support. So people are going to look at what you accomplished, and then we're going to be able to teach them how you did it. We're going to be able to take and show them how they could be like you. And then as they see you act, as they see you take the enhanced leadership capacity and act on it, you know what they're going to do? They're going to see the action and the impact, and they're going to be inspired to do the same. Well, that's Pollyanna-she, and that's silly talk. Well, you know what? I know it works. I know it works because we didn't let them be kids. And I know it'll work in this situation as well.
As a committee even, and we had all signed up, of course, but to hear those stories is certainly heartwarming, and it's just a wonderful thing to be part of, and certainly, like I said earlier, it's part of our jobs, but it really became a passion to continue promoting it and participating in it, and seeing the difference it's going to make in our community, because today is a starting point for us to branch off and take that human capital and muster it together and make an even better Grand Prairie.
So when I say you're a beacon of hope, that's not a joke to me. There's a 4-year-old little boy in your town counting on you. There's a senior on a fixed income counting on you. There's a young family whose hopes and dreams are counting on you and counting on me. Counting on us to do what? Build a great community and bring them along as guides on the side. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. This is about building the communities we all want to live in, and about creating beacon of hope. And ultimately, for me personally, establishing Canada as a beacon of hope to the rest of the world. Your community can be that, and Canada as a whole can be that. All right, I want you to check out the rest of this video. Now, this is the formal orientation that your community's members will see when they register. Congratulations again. Check out the video, and I'll look forward to talking to you in the coaching session. See you, everybody. We're doing this project for one reason and one reason alone. We recognize that in the 21st century, the key to building a thriving community is community leadership capacity. Now, what does that mean? That means in today's day and age that all sectors and all silos and all corners of the community have to come together to build the community we'd all want to live in. And the key to that is leadership. Not necessarily formal leadership, but informal leaders in all those sectors, in all those silos, in all those corners need to be at their best. That's why we're doing this, to help you be your best, so that you can in turn go out and help build the community that you and I and all of us would want to live in. Now, because it's a first of its kind program, this orientation is so important. Over the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to give you all the information you need to prepare for, participate in, and maximize the impact of this leadership development exercise. Now look, this is first of its kind. It's unlike anything you've ever been a part of. So I really want you to pay attention. Take notes, and at the end, if you need to send me an email or ask me a question, I'm happy to answer anything you might want to ask. We understand, and all futurists and all community gurus say, that the key to a thriving community in the 21st century is community leadership capacity. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that times have changed.
Like the business guru Peter F. Drucker said, that every couple hundred years in Western history, society rearranges itself. And the society the grandparents knew is completely different than the society the grandchildren know. He called it a time of transformation. Well, the world has transformed. You know that, and I know that. So then, what kind of leadership skills, abilities and capacities and competencies do the times require? If community leadership capacity is the key to a thriving community, well, then you got to have leaders that know what the times require. And secondly, it's not just about formal leaders anymore. No, it's not about formal leaders anymore. There's too much to get done. There's too much happening. It's about informal leaders in every corner of the community, in every organization, in every sector. Everybody's a leader. So increasing the leadership capacity is about equipping people with the tools of leadership that the times require. All right. Now let's unpack this program that will help to reach that desired outcome. So if we're going to reach those lofty goals, those desired outcomes, we better build a model to do so. Well, in building that model, we had to take a couple things into consideration. One of the things we had to take into consideration that passive learning models don't reach those kind of outcomes. Now look, let's be honest. You've read the books and I've read the books. You've participated in the leadership 3-day workshops and I have too. You've even taken the CD and put it in and listened to it week after week. Why don't those passive learning models work? Why don't we turn out better leaders at the end of those programs oftentimes? Well, I had to find out. Before we could build a first of its kind leading edge program, we had to find out why so many programs don't work. And here's what we came to find. We came to find that, first of all, 80% of your leadership behavior and my leadership behavior is unconscious. That through our life experiences and through our influences of our lives, both good and bad, we've developed a leadership style, if you will. A way that we get things done, or not. And that 80% of that approach is unconscious. We're just doing it. It's also known as a habit. We also came to find that those passive learning approaches aren't effective because within 7 to 10 days of hearing that information fades away, it goes away. It doesn't make the impact because it's not continually being reinforced. And then finally, and you've heard this before, we understood that to change some of those habits, it takes 21 to 28 days to either change the habit or establish a new one. And we looked at that and we said, no wonder passive learning approaches, books, tapes, even workshops, don't work. So we had to build something different. And we have. We call it the change continuum. Here are the two key components of the change continuum. First, that for adults to really learn and for a program to be effective, it has to utilize a blended learning model. And what does that mean? Blended learning model. Well, that means that some adults learn by seeing or reading. Other adults learn by hearing. Some adults learn by thinking. Others by dialoguing. And some by doing. So the program had to have all of those aspects in it. Then it takes 21 to 28 days to establish a habit. I just said that. You know and I know that to be true. So in other words, we had to reinforce information over a period of time. So the change continuum takes both of those things into account. Here's how it works practically. We're going to teach competencies. We'll talk about those competencies in a moment. We're going to introduce each one of those competencies, leadership competencies, and then we're going to reinforce the information over a 21-day period via email, via video, via text message. Every week you're going to get an email from me, and we're going to reinforce the information utilizing that blending learning model. Halfway through the 21 days, you're going to have a chance to have a coaching session with me where I'm going to answer your questions. You're going to be able to text in your question. You're going to be able to Skype in your question. You're going to be able to call in your question. And you're going to get a response from me in real time via live video streaming. We're going to leverage the wonders of technology to create this blended learning approach It's going to completely wrap around you and move you through each one of the 21-day segments. The change continuum is why this program is so unique. And in combination with the content that is proven and practical, it will make a difference. Yeah, but wait a minute, I don't have time for all that. That's why it's all archived for on-demand participation. All right, so if we're going to have all of that change continuum, we better have a platform for its utilization. Now let's check out the Learning Portal. For the change continuum to be effective, we had to take into consideration people's busy and hectic lifestyles. That not everybody was going to be able to participate in the traditional way. They might have to participate at their own time, at their own leisure. But we wanted to give people an opportunity to participate. And if people missed something, they needed to be able to go back and access it. And because of the beauties of technology, for the first time, we could do something like that. We call that something the Learning Portal. That will then give you all access to the Learning Portal 24/7, 365. From any computer, any platform. You don't need any special software. All you need is your username and password to go there. Now, how do I get into the portal? All right, let's look at how you create your username and password. Don't forget, as it said there on the screen, if you don't get that confirmation email right away, do me a favor, look in your junk email. It may have gone in your junk email. Now, if it wasn't in your junk email, you didn't get the confirmation, then go to the email here at the bottom of the screen. Send a note to the email there at the bottom of the screen, and we'll help you take care of any technical challenge that you might have. All right. Now let's look at the inside of the portal. All right, let's go into the Learning Portal and see how the blended learning model works practically. You type in your username and password. Once you've typed in your username and password, you click Submit and you'll enter into the portal itself. In the main video box, you will always find whatever the latest live teaching session was. Whatever that live teaching session was, of the 3 weeks that we're emphasizing, you'll find it there in the box. Then over on the right-hand side of the Learning Portal, you'll find all of the archived information of the program. So let's say the coaching session, you weren't able to make it. Well, the coaching session will be available there to you. How about the emails? All of the emails that you received, the reinforcement emails, will be there. Let's say you deleted one. It'll always be there for you. As well as the handouts of the program will always be there available for you. The handouts will always be available for download. MP3s, that's right. You could download an MP3 so you could have learning on the go if you so choose. Now, we also had to have a way for participants to be able to communicate amongst themselves. As you know, there's a Facebook page. Inside the Learning Portal, there's a forum for you to be able to ask me questions or a forum to be able to dialogue with other participants. Let's look at that forum really quick. That forum will provide you the opportunity to be able to talk amongst yourselves, to be able to ask questions of each other or make suggestions, recommendations, or just support one another. We believe that through this Learning Portal that provides 24/7 on-demand participation, it will provide the blended learning model that will give you the impact that you hope for. As you become a better leader, the community becomes better. And this learning portal and the change continuum will give you the opportunity to do so. Wow, all of that is really cool, Ian. The blended learning model, the 21 days to establish a habit, the learning portal, the change continuum, the emails, the video, the MP3. That's awesome. But what are we going to learn? What are we going to learn? Well, what you're going to learn are the leadership competencies the times require. Well, I've heard you allude to that a couple of times. Leadership competencies. What do you mean? Well, every vocation has certain competencies. Leadership has certain competencies. That complex set of skills, attributes, and attitudes that make up a thing, that make you good at a chosen vocation. Those competencies. There are vocational competencies. There are leadership competencies. This program specifically addresses leadership competencies. How do I lead myself and others? The other thing that we had to take into consideration when talking about these leadership competencies is, what are the leadership competencies the times require? You see, the skills, abilities, and competencies to lead, to win the battles behind me may not be the skills, abilities, and competencies to win the battle before me. I would suggest to you, times have changed. Things are different. And the way to lead today is fundamentally unlike the way we've led in the past. So, what are the leadership competencies the times require? That's what we're going to be teaching. In our first session, we're going to ignite the process. The first 3 weeks will be igniting the process. We call it Ignite the Fire. Now, although it may sound trite, we know that there's something in play. It's a law of motion called inertia. That says that something in place tends to stay in place. Something on a certain trajectory tends to stay on that trajectory unless there's a force greater than the one being applied at this time. Well, you know what? There's inertia in your life. There's inertia in my life. We all get in a rut. We all have habits. The only way to overcome those is to ignite the process. It's kind of like the space shuttle down in the States. You know, it takes so much energy. You know, 93% of its energy are used in the first few minutes to get it off the launch pad. The same is going to be true with this program. So the first 3 weeks, we're going to be igniting the fire. We're going to be looking introspectively within ourselves. We're going to be looking at our leadership history, where we've come from and the various influences that have made us what we are today. We're going to do a leadership inventory so we can identify our current style. We're going to look at the way we communicate. There's going to be a lot of introspection in the first 3 weeks. Then we're going to introduce the first leadership competency, agent of change. How do I change me? And how do I change my situation? And how do I affect change? How do I become an agent of change? Then we're going to talk about systems thinking. Systems thinking. Big picture, holistic systems thinking. If you're going to be successful in the 21st century as a leader, you better understand the connectivity of people and things. The universe is a system, and so is a community. Our society is a system, and so is the neighborhood. And systems either organically grow up and take hold or intentionally developed to reach a desired outcome or for a specific purpose. Are you a systems thinker? Then we're going to learn to be a catalyst for responsibility. A catalyst for responsibility. Being able to get things done through other people. So we're going to learn leadership competencies the times require, putting new tools in your toolkit. And then through the blended learning model and the 21 days to establish a habit, we're going to make sure that those leadership competencies take hold so that you can utilize them to build the thriving community we'd all want to live in. Technical requirements to be able to access the learning portal and to participate in the program. Well, you should be able to access that on any platform that has high-speed internet. You don't need any special software or anything of that nature. You should be able to access it on your iPad. You should be able to access it on your laptop. You should be able to access it on a desktop at the library. You should be able to access it on your smartphone. You should be able to access it from just about any platform anywhere in the world. If you have some technical challenges, all you have to do is go to the email address on your screen, and we can coach you through any challenge. Don't wait. Don't wait. If you have a technical challenge, let us know sooner than later so that we can coach you through it. But that's the simplicity of it. Everything is archived on the Learning Portal, and you should be able to access it from any platform, anywhere in the world, as long as you have high-speed internet. Let's do a quick recap of all that you need to do to be able to participate. 1, you gotta go create your username and password. There's the URL there on the bottom of the screen. You go, you create your username and password. That will allow you to log into the Learning Portal. Now, some of you have already done that and you're watching this in the Learning Portal. Good job. Secondly, test your technology. Go into the Learning Portal, sign in, make sure that that orientation video is working for you and that you don't have any challenges. 3, make sure you join the different social media accounts. That will keep you abreast of what's going on and allow you to communicate with other participants. 4, make sure you answer the questions that I emailed to you. Those 3 questions. Just make sure you get them back to me before that program begins. That way, I know your expectations and we can ensure that your expectations are met and exceeded. We're going to do everything we possibly can to help you in this 15-week journey to become the best leader you can possibly be. We're 100% committed to doing so. The only thing we ask in return is your best. Now, I know that life happens. There'll be a lot going on. So some of you will not take the traditional approach. You won't participate every week for the 15 weeks. That's why we have it on demand. All I care about is this, that while you're participating, you're giving your best, doing the best that you can. If there's ever any way that I can help you, I'm here and available to you. That's my personal commitment, is to help you become the leader I know and you know that you can be. What's the ultimate payoff for this? Because see, you're not being charged a penny. The ultimate payoff for you and for us and for the community is you take what you learned and you go and do something with it. That's how you're going to pay us all back, because you're not putting in any money. All you're putting in is some sweat. So we're going to provide an awesome program. You're going to provide your best, and the net effect is going to be a better community because you're a better leader. You're going to take what you learn and you're going to go and do something with it. Thank you for participating. I look forward to working with you. Take care, everybody.